This is an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder.
Just recently, we lost an icon of the Broadway stage and a performer who was just an absolute joy to talk to. One of my favorite celebrity interviews of all time. I'm talking about actress Carol Channing. On January 15th, Carol died of natural causes at her home in Rancho Mirage, California, at the age of 97. I had the pleasure of talking to her not once but twice back in 2002. Like bookends, she was on the show with us at the beginning of the year and also at the end. Our first chat was on January 10th. Here's just part of that conversation now. Do you get the adrenaline rush when you go on stage and perform in front of an audience? Is that what gets you out there night after night?
Sheer panic will cause you to do anything. You can do the most wonderful things out of sheer panic.
After all these years of performing, do you still get a little stage fright on stage?
As I say, sheer panic. Yes.
So someone who is trained like yourself, who has done so many Broadway plays, you've also done some movies. Is that a hurry up and wait kind of situation? I mean, is it difficult for someone who is a stage performer to get in front of the camera where there's so much downtime?
Well, it's about as much as so much what time downtime?
Yeah, there's be setting up between shots and waiting for your scenes and.
Oh yes, but I got to talk to Julie Andrews, and that was heaven. And I got to talk to Mary Tyler Moore, and we all became awfully good friends.
I guess we're talking about the film Thoroughly Modern Millie, correct?
That's right.
As a matter of fact, up here in the Montreal area, it played during the holidays, and I watched it again. I hadn't seen it in such a while. It was good to see that movie again.
I played Montreal.
When was that?
With Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, and with Hello Dolly, and my one. Oh, there was another one, Lorelei, and I love Montreal, but everybody does. There's nothing new about that.
Now, when you were performing on stage, again, you do something like Hello Dolly for years and years and years. How do you keep it fresh?
No problem whatsoever. As I say, this is the audience. It's sheer panic before every audience. It's just, people say, "Oh, how are you, Carol? How's your son?" And I think, what a heck of a time to ask me. We got to go on stage in a few minutes, and I just say, well, look, I can't answer you. You know, this could be the audience that never you don't communicate with. But I don't remember any. We really didn't. We always say after the show, but when they're good, lock all the doors and windows and don't let them out.
Now, I saw a quote some time ago that said you said, "I've been prostituting myself since the 4th grade."
Yes. Well, the reason is, you see, I have a book coming out. I wrote a book. Can you believe it? I wrote a book for Simon & Schuster. Michael Korda is he's my editor. And Chuck Adams. But I wrote it all myself. And I thought, what should I call this? And I remember the old joke, what's a nice girl like you, the client to the prostitute, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? And the prostitute says, just lucky, I guess. But it's interesting that when you do it on stage, I've been prostituting myself since the 4th grade. I mean, when you do it on stage, I wanted to win the election so I could read the minutes to the school every Friday, and nobody much cared whether they were accurate or not, as long as they were entertaining. So I got it. Isn't that marvelous training?
So you had the acting bug from a very early age.
7.
7.
Yes.
There was no doubt that this was what you were going to do?
No doubt.
Now, how did your parents feel when you said, I want to go into acting?
Oh, I said that. I told both my parents, and my father said, those are the happier people. Not the people who get out of work, but the ones who find their work. And I never got off the track. I never tried to do anything else.
I also understand you went to school not too far from us here in Montreal. You went to school in Vermont?
That's right, Bennington.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, the best skiing country in the world. I don't know. I haven't tried it all over the world.
Are you a skier, or were you a skier?
No. No. They kept us busy up there at Bennington. No, but it is the best skiing country. No, all I did was play Montreal.
Okay. Now, when it comes to your big performance that everyone knows you for, which is Hello, Dolly, that was such a smash hit that played for years on Broadway. Were you disappointed when you didn't get a chance to play the role in the movies?
Oh, certainly. Oh, yes. I thought the movie was terrible. Naturally, I would. No, we were good friends, Barbara Streisand and I. And then all of a sudden, I got on my high horse and got mad.
Why didn't you get the part on the screen?
You know, I don't know. They didn't want Gower Champion either, and he choreographed the scenery and the flowers and the closet door and the everything. It was the remarkable thing about Dolly was the teamwork of it. It was Jerry Herman's music and lyrics, and Mike Stewart. It was everybody involved in it.
Do you think that there was still, at that time, a bit of a stigma between those who act on stage and those who act on screen, and never the twain shall meet?
No, I know. You see, it was a smash hit, Dolly. It really was. They had jokes in magazines about a dying man sitting up in bed saying, "And I do bequeath my 2 tickets to Hello, Dolly, too," and all that, as he's dying. Mm-hmm. And it was just and gondoliers in Venice singing "Hello, Dolly," going down those waterways and all. It was just a smash hit until the producers. We got more publicity from the producers. They said nothing ever received the Tony Awards like "Hello, Dolly" until the producers came along and they beat it by 2.
Now, I know you, with the exception of the performance that you had with Jerry Herman in November, that you really haven't performed for about 4 years. Is that correct?
Yes, I deliberately went into hibernation to write this book, and it's memoirs. And you have to, if you want to write a book all by yourself, you just have to, and it's the loneliest life in the world. So here I sit in the middle of a monastery, like it looks like it, and I just keep writing, but you have to warm up to the people you're writing about. That's the only way out. Otherwise, you go insane.
Yeah.
So I just visited with everybody I was writing about.
What was your favorite part?
The last one I was in. I can't. It's like being in love. You can't remember any other boyfriend. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Now.
It was Hello, Dolly.
Okay, now you made your Broadway debut, if I am correct, in 1948 in No for an Answer. Is that right?
Yes. No, my Broadway debut was before then. It was fresh out of Bennington, and Mark Blitzstein wrote one comedy review. He wrote modern American operas. Mm-hmm. And he wrote The Cradle Will Rock, and this was called No for an Answer, and it was the one comedy song, I'm Simply Fraud About You, and he said, yes, I want you, I auditioned for it. And that was way back before, when was that? In the 40s, after World War II, not World War I, but World War II.
Now, people hear about your career and all the things that you've done, and they get the impression that, you just sailed through life. It was all very, very easy. But it's tough getting on Broadway, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. When people ask me, do you think I'm good enough to be on Broadway and all that, and I keep thinking, if you can ask that question, I don't think you'll ever make it. You just have to keep going after it and being fired and being ignored and being told you're too tall or your voice is too low or some darn thing, and finally, but if you just keep at it, beyond all sanity and beyond all health and everything, and something has to be driving you.
And at no point when you were getting all this rejection did you ever decide, or even just a hint of, maybe some of these people are right, maybe I should just go back home?
I didn't think I was going to make it, but see, the younger generation is much taller, so they're just about my height now. So I'm all right. I can start all over again.
Yeah, when you came along, you mentioned, your voice is a little deeper. You were taller than most of the young gals who were out there at the time. You weren't the stereotypical Ziegfeld girl, I guess, when you first came along.
Who is in the theater?
That's true.
Yeah, nobody. I just keep meeting one of a kind all the time.
I guess that makes it easy for them to come up with the right show for you, because it doesn't compare with anybody else. Although I know, in talking with Jerry Herman when he was on the program with us, that of course Hello Dolly, when it was first conceived, was not for you.
No, it wasn't. No, I've never done a show that was written for me.
Really?
Never. No, and that's an actor's job. And I mean, to the thrill of for me of being on the stage is to get into this character if I'm crazy about her.
So when somebody else creates a character for somebody else, how do you, Carol Channing, make it your own?
You go into your closet, Julie Andrews, and it says in the Bible, go into your closet, keep your channel open, and you close the door and keep your channel open. Now, Martha Graham said that to her dance class, too. It's in the Bible. And you go in, and by golly, if you love that character enough, it descends on you, and you've got her voice, you've got the way she walks, the way she talks, the way she sings and dances, and the way she thinks, and you get into her, and people who want to be actors, that's their excitement in life.
Now, when people go to see a Broadway show, do they want to see a Carol Channing absorbed by a character on stage, or do they want to see Carol Channing?
I'm unaware of the fact that there is a Carol Channing. And I bet if anybody asked you, tell me, who are you, Peter Holder? You would describe somebody that you kind of wish you were, or something else, and have it all off, and your friends would all say, oh, for heaven's sakes, that's not you. But if you're coming through it all, you've got to. No, if you do honest work artistically in any of the arts, you recreate yourself and don't know it. There's your answer.
Did you ever think when you first started on the Broadway stage that you'd reached to the point where you are now with all the accolades that you've accomplished and all the awards that you've won, that you would be the icon that you are today? Did you dream about that when you first got on Broadway?
I'm totally unaware of that. Totally unaware. See, I've always wished I could go down the center aisle in the theater and say, now, which part did you like the best, the first act or the second act? Well, why did you like it? Blah, blah, blah. And I never get to talk to the audience. So how do I know? You don't know whether you're popular with your listeners or not. I'm totally unaware of anything like that. And I noticed that Lynn Fontana and Alfred Lunt, now you're too young, I can tell by your voice, to know who they were, but they were the oracles of modern acting and modern, everything to do with the theater and live theater. And they had no idea that they would dim the lights all over the world when Alfred died and when she died. Lynn said to me, I had no idea. Alfred had no idea. They just kept, you've got the next audience to capture, and you might lose them. It's like walking a tightrope. You may never communicate with them. That next audience is always in front of you.
One of the great things about Broadway is, of course, there are great shows on the boards on most of the theaters that are there, yet no matter how many crowds they get, and even if they're sold out night after night after night, the reality is that most of North America will never have the opportunity to actually see a Broadway play unless those plays tour. Did you enjoy touring?
I did, and I toured all over Canada, all over the United States. We went from Vancouver straight across. I've so many times gone to I guess there are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tours of different shows. Dolly was 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Do the audiences differ from place to place?
Yes, they used to more than they do now. I'm a person who, I should have put that in my book, because if you go south of the Mason-Dixon line, everything your character does is sweet. And no matter what, if they like you, you are sweet. You are just dear and sweet and feminine and all that. And then you get up north in Detroit, and all of a sudden they see the gangster side of Lorelei Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and they see and there are all sides to a character, and to all of us, we aren't one-cylindered, and they only see what their standards are. It's interesting, but the timing, the laughs are there; they're the same, and the tears are there, and the it's still there, but they change your character for you.
Really?
Yeah, they do. They you can just feel it. There's a terrific response to sweetness in the South, and there's a terrific response to being durable and tough, and you can get through it, and you're going to make it. Reach for the pot of the end of the rainbow, and you're going to make it. They feel that ambition of the character, that side of her, and they make it come to life.
That was Carol Channing, who passed away on January 15th at her home in Rancho Mirage, California. She was 97 years old, and she was an absolute delight to talk to. A funny, smart, and talented lady. Her book, which is still available, is called Just Lucky, I Guess, a Memoir of Sorts. And speaking of books, it's because of people like Carol Channing, and also because of the encouragement of her publicist, Harlan Bowl, that I wrote my book, Great Conversations, My Interviews with Two Men on the Moon and a Galaxy of Stars. Carol was one of the first stars I wrote about after it was Harlan who put the idea in my head that I might have a book in me. Harlan and I reminisced about some of the many clients of his that I had spoken to over the years, and I got a warm feeling talking about my various chats with Carol. In a way, she's kind of responsible for my writing a book in the first place. For many reasons, she will be missed. And Stuph File Program fans, you can hear full versions of both conversations I had with Carol Channing by going to our Patreon page and becoming one of the select patrons of the show. Carol shares stories about her family life, her battle with cancer while she was performing on Broadway, and more. Just go to patreon.com/The Stuph File Program.
You've just heard an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder. To hear any or all of the full hour-long shows, visit thestufffile.com. Stuph is spelled S-T-U-P-H. That's thestufffile.com. A presentation of Flying Fish Communications.